Imagine a planet where the heat can melt metal and rain falls as acid. That's Venus, the hottest planet in our solar system. Even though it's almost the same size as Earth, no human could survive there. Venus has a crushing atmosphere with pressure 90 times stronger than Earth's. One day on Venus lasts longer than an entire year, and thick clouds hide the surface from view. Scientists believe Venus may have once looked like Earth. So what turned it into a living nightmare? Picture this. You find a corpse that looks exactly like your twin. Same height, same build, born from the same stardust. Except one lived a beautiful life, and the other, well, the other got tortured to death over billions of years. Meet Venus and Earth. I'm about to show you the most disturbing crime scene in our solar system. Venus didn't just die, it was slowly murdered. And the killer? It's stalking our planet right now. Grab some coffee. We're going full CSI on a dead world, and what we discover will change everything you thought you knew about planetary survival. Venus is basically Earth's psychotic twin sister. She's 95% our size, has 90% our gravity. If you could somehow stand on Venus without instantly dying, you'd weigh almost exactly what you do here. But here's where things get properly insane. The surface temperature hits 864 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot enough to melt lead like butter. The air pressure? Try being crushed by 92 Earth atmospheres. Imagine getting squeezed by the weight of 3,000 feet of ocean water. A nuclear submarine would crumple like a soda can. Oh, and get this brain bender. A single day on Venus lasts 243 Earth days, but its year? Only 225 Earth days. So one Venus day is longer than its entire year. You could literally jog faster than the sunrise. Even weirder, Venus spins backwards. Something absolutely demolished this planet and left it spinning the wrong way like a broken toy. These aren't random space facts. These are clues at a murder scene. And we're about to become the detectives. In 1982, the Soviets pulled off something that still seems impossible. They landed a robot on the surface of hell itself and somehow kept it alive for 127 minutes. Think about that human achievement for a second. Soviet engineers, working with 1980s technology, built a machine tough enough to survive conditions more hostile than inside an active volcano. They had one shot, one chance to see another world through human eyes. The Venera 13 mission was humanity's most badass engineering achievement. Picture building a robot tough enough to survive inside an active volcano, then dropping it on an alien world where everything wants to kill it. For exactly 127 minutes, longer than the Titanic took to sink, longer than most Hollywood movies, this little Soviet hero transmitted the first color photos from another planet's surface. What it showed broke every scientist's heart. Rocky wasteland stretching to infinity. Orange sky thick as soup. The air so dense it bends light, making the horizon curve upward like you're trapped inside a giant bowl. And here's something that'll blow your mind. It snows metal on Venus. At the mountain peaks where it's cooler, heavy metals literally fall from the sky like metallic snowflakes. Galena snow, bismuth frost, nature's own heavy metal concert. This is our crime scene. But here's what will mess with your head. Venus wasn't always a hellscape. What I'm about to tell you will completely flip your understanding of our solar system. For 2 billion years, longer than complex life has existed on Earth, Venus was actually paradise. Blue oceans, gentle climate, maybe even the first living world in our solar system. How do we know? The smoking gun is written in Venus's atmosphere, like DNA evidence at a crime scene. Scientists measure something called deuterium to hydrogen ratios. Think of deuterium as fat hydrogen. It's heavier, harder to lose. Venus has 150 times more deuterium than Earth. That's like finding a massive blood stain at a crime scene. It screams that Venus once had oceans, vast, deep oceans that have since vanished into space. The deuterium is what's left behind, like fingerprints of a murdered world. 4 billion years ago, our sun had only about 70% of its current brightness. This kept Venus cool enough for liquid water despite being closer to our star. Venus's crazy slow rotation might have actually helped, creating thick clouds that reflected sunlight like a planetary umbrella. For 2 billion years, think about that timeline. This delicate dance continued. Venus was the Goldilocks planet. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. Then the sun got stronger, and Venus's immune system completely failed. But what happened next will terrify you, because the same process is happening on Earth right now. As temperatures crept up, the ocean started evaporating faster. Here's where Venus made a fatal mistake. Water vapor is a greenhouse gas even more powerful than CO2. More water in the air trapped more heat, causing more evaporation, trapping even more heat. It was a death spiral. Once it started, the laws of physics made it impossible to stop. Venus was trapped in a feedback loop of destruction. But Venus had another deadly weakness: no magnetic field. Earth's magnetic field is like a force field generated by our spinning, molten core. It deflects the solar wind, that stream of charged particles constantly blasting from the sun like cosmic bullets. Venus spins too slowly to generate this shield, so the solar wind hits Venus's atmosphere directly, literally ripping water molecules apart and blowing them into space. Venus was slowly bleeding its life force into the void, one molecule at a time. As the water vanished, Venus lost its thermostat. On Earth, our oceans absorb and release heat, keeping temperatures stable. Venus lost that climate control system forever. But the real murder happened 500 to 700 million years ago. Venus committed planetary suicide in the most spectacular way possible. Look at Venus through radar, and you'll see something that should be impossible. Almost no impact craters. On a planet billions of years old, that's like finding a crime scene with no evidence, unless something erased everything. That something was the Great Resurfacing Event, the most catastrophic volcanic apocalypse in solar system history. Venus, lacking Earth's plate tectonics, built up massive pressure in its interior, like a planetary pressure cooker with no release valve. For millions of years, the pressure built and built and built. Eventually, it exploded. Imagine every volcano on Earth erupting simultaneously for millions of years. The entire surface got buried under fresh lava. Gigatons of CO2 and sulfur compounds got belched into the atmosphere in a planetary death scream. This was Venus's death certificate. All that CO2 supercharged the greenhouse effect past any hope of recovery. Any remaining water boiled away completely. And here's the most terrifying part. Venus can never heal itself. Earth has plate tectonics, our planet's natural medicine. CO2 gets locked into rocks and recycled back into the mantle. It's a built-in thermostat that's kept Earth stable for billions of years. Venus has no plate tectonics. Any CO2 that enters its atmosphere just accumulates forever. It's like a patient with no immune system. Any infection becomes fatal. So here's our autopsy report. Cause of death? Thermal runaway triggered by 3 fatal flaws. Fatal flaw 1. No magnetic field. Venus bled its water into space. Fatal flaw 2. No plate tectonics. Venus couldn't regulate its atmospheric chemistry. Fatal flaw 3. Runaway greenhouse effect. Once started, physically unstoppable. The result? A world where sulfuric acid rains from the clouds but evaporates 15 miles before hitting the ground, where lightning crackles through acid fog, where you'd be simultaneously crushed and vaporized in seconds. Venus has been dead for 500 million years. But wait, in 2020, scientists thought they detected something impossible. Phosphine gas in Venus's clouds. On Earth, phosphine comes almost exclusively from living things. Finding it on Venus was like detecting a heartbeat in a corpse. Headlines screamed, "Life on Venus." The world held its breath. Then, other scientists did what scientists do best. They double-checked everything. Turns out, the phosphine was probably sulfur dioxide being misidentified by analysis software. No heartbeat after all. Venus remains dead. But we're about to get definitive answers. The 2030s will be Venus's decade. Da Vinci Plus will drop a probe through Venus's atmosphere, measuring its chemistry as it falls to its death. Veritas will radar map the entire planet in 3D. Europe's Envision will study Venus from core to cloud tops. 3 missions working together to solve the final mysteries of our murdered twin. Here's why this matters for us, and why you need to pay attention to every word I'm about to say. Venus holds a terrifying warning for Earth. Both planets started with roughly the same carbon. The difference? Where it ended up. Earth locked most of its carbon safely in rocks. Venus? It's all in the atmosphere as CO2. Right now, we're pumping CO2 into Earth's atmosphere faster than ever in planetary history. We're running a massive experiment with our climate system. Venus shows us what happens when that experiment goes wrong. We won't become Venus overnight. Earth has protections Venus lacks. Our magnetic field, plate tectonics, vast oceans. But Venus proves even Earth-like planets can cross a tipping point into permanent hell. Current CO2 levels are higher than they've been in 3 million years. We're approaching concentrations that previously caused mass extinctions. Venus didn't die naturally. It was murdered by atmospheric chemistry, greenhouse gases, and runaway feedback loops. The same forces that could threaten Earth. The difference? We know what killed Venus. We can read the warning signs. And unlike Venus, we still have time. Venus and Earth are twins. What happened to one could happen to the other. But now we know the killer's methods. We've seen the crime scene. We've read the autopsy report. What are we going to do with that knowledge? Subscribe to follow the Venus missions as they uncover our dead twins' final secrets. Drop a comment. Which planet should we autopsy next? Mars has its own murder mystery written in frozen polar caps. Remember, Venus had oceans for 2 billion years, maybe even life. Then it died the most catastrophic death possible. That's not just space history. That's a warning from the dead. We'd better listen.